All right, I want to chop it up here and talk about procrastination. Shout out to Lorraine, who's a premium MAP member, and she asked me for some thoughts on this topic. So, my apologies for the delay. We had a few exciting things happening here, but I definitely want to address questions that come in and offer some insight, especially if they're asked for, instead of just sharing random content that people may or may not enjoy. So take this with a grain of salt. I'm not talking about, this isn't for any one person in particular. Sometimes when I get a question, people are like almost offended, like, oh, that's not me. This isn't for any one person. This is a generalization of how I feel about procrastination and probably the detriments of it. Not to say that I don't procrastinate, but I think it's important to understand that, at least from my perspective, everyone sees different things in a different way. So for me, when I'm talking about procrastination, I feel like that is the lack of ability to make a decision. And because it's delayed, right? Let's say, for example, someone wants to sign up to our program. They delay, they delay making a decision. So they delay their results, which ultimately to me means that they're either not ready for results, or that's probably it. They're just not ready to see results in their life. And I've talked about this in the past. Not everyone's is coachable, for example. Like I wasn't coachable early on. And then when I learned the value of coaching, I just continued to want to be more coachable and listen to my coaches. And we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on coaching. And that's really when I understood the value of how that can expedite. Like you're listening to someone that knows what they're talking about because they've been there before themselves, and then they teach it. There's no quicker way to do something or to learn something. And so when you're delaying a decision, all you're doing is saying that I have the lack of ability to make that decision right now. Hence the word procrastination, which causes more pain in your life. Now, here's the thing. I believe that being able to make decisions, I'm thinking while I'm talking, and sometimes I feel like I ramble through things too quickly. So I want to be accurate with what I want to share, is that when people lack the ability to make a decision, it's often because they don't have that decision-making muscle. So the more decisions you make, the more decisions you can make. And we see adults have a weaker decision-making muscle. They're just not used to it. They just don't they don't make decisions at all. And then they don't make important decisions. Like, have you ever been around someone that will never make a decision? It is painful. Like, what do you want to eat? What do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? What movie do you want to watch? I don't know. What movie do you want to watch? And it's like, it should be like in any type of relationship, it should be balanced of both sides, giving and taking, making decisions. Because we don't always, like, one person doesn't always want to make the decisions. I don't think, anyways. I mean, at least in my opinion. You have maybe those people that like to be a bit more in control and they want to make all the decisions, but there's something called decision fatigue. And I go through that on a regular basis. Like, when I hire someone as an employee, I want them to be able to make decisions. I want them to be able to make their own educated, accurate decisions that will help drive the business forward, because I'm making decisions all day. But you look at the flip side of that, and there's people that they really struggle with the ability to make decisions. So they don't make any decision at all, which is a decision in its own rights. So again, that goes back to people that, like, someone may come to me and say, I've been overweight for 40 years and I'd really like some help. Can you help me? So we'll sit down, we'll have a conversation. We'll say, we've got everything lined up. Sounds like this is a good fit. Can we move forward? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? And that's a trigger for me. Like, oh boy, this person is not used to making decisions. They're probably not going to be able to make this decision. and they're going to be stuck in that same position or situation that brought them to me. That's a whole lot of pain. So we have to practice the art of making decisions, I would say, as often as possible before you get to decision fatigue. It's a little bit different as a business owner. You might know that from being a parent or grandparent. I don't know what that is at this point yet. I mean, as a parent, but it's not really, I think in many cases, it's not hard for me to make a parenting decision. Maybe that's not a true statement. I wanted to say it's not hard to make a parenting decision because I base everything out of safety at this point in the best interest of our toddler. But maybe that's not fair because there's a lot of things that I think about, like I want to make the right decision for him. But going back to decision making, like if you want to understand how powerful I believe this is, we let our toddler make a lot of decisions. We always let him choose. We give him the no choice. Have you heard of that? So it's you. I don't want to wear pants. He doesn't want to wear pants. So we say, it's a little bit cooler outside. Got to wear pants. Do you want to wear the red pants or the black pants? So he doesn't get the decision to not wear the pants, but he chooses what color he's going to wear. And he feels a bit more empowered. And then he can feel like he's making decisions, and he can learn how to make decisions early on. That's one of being in the position we're in today. We realize how important that is. It is so significant in this world to be able to make proper decisions accurately and quickly. And I'm not saying like it doesn't matter where you are in life. Like if you are a toddler listening to this, probably not. If you're a parent or if you're a grandparent, like I don't think it matters where you are. I feel like you can always change your situation or circumstance. So it doesn't matter what your age is. I'm saying that you can start to get better at making decisions, and that would reduce the amount of procrastination in your life. Like and this may be slightly different off topic. Like I don't know how to make a decision of putting my clothes away. Maybe that's different, but you still have a choice, right? Like you choose, I'm not going to put my clothes away. I'm going to sit on the couch and do nothing. I'm not going to empty the dishwasher. I'm going to sit there and scroll through my newsfeed instead. Like those are decisions. We make decisions all day long. But I feel like it should relate back to pain points. Like what pain points are you willing to go through? Like, is it going to be a bit more painful to empty the dishwasher right away instead of sitting on the couch procrastinating, doing something that's not productive, like scrolling through your newsfeed, right? It's the same thing with workouts. Like you would feel so much better if you got your workouts in first thing and didn't procrastinate and say, I'll get them done later on. I'll do them in the afternoon. I'll do them in the evening, because it's always on your mind. Like for me, if you could rationalize, that is a long pain point that you're putting yourself through, instead of being like, I'm going to get a 30-minute workout in, just do it. Instead of being like thinking all day long, I got to get my workout in. What if I miss my workout? What happens when something else comes up? I'm going to do it after dinner. I'm going to do it after the show. Like that's a long, aggravating day of thinking about your workouts instead of getting it done and then moving on with your life. And then it's not on your brain. So you have more mental and emotional capacity to deal with other issues that come up. And there's always things that come up. For me, sometimes I like to sit in the decision. It sounds like, what's the word? What's the word when you like punish yourself or hurt yourself? Sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sit in this decision, and I'm going to sit here and be uncomfortable. It sounds maybe counterintuitive or the opposite of what I'm talking about here, but because there's always something that comes up, right? There's always a new decision that has to be made. So I say, you know what? I'm not going to make that decision right now. A conscious decision, a conscious thought, and a conscious action to be like, I'm going to sit in this uncomfortability, is that a word? And be uncomfortable in that moment, because I want to strengthen that ability to be uncomfortable. It's the same thing as, like, you could look at, this might be slightly off topic, but you look at ice baths. When I talk to people about ice baths, and they're like, whoa, no way, won't even consider it. And I think to myself, like, there's so many benefits to an ice bath. Like, I like an ice bath because you make yourself do something you don't want to do. You feel a sense of accomplishment. You feel like bulletproof when you get out. And well, I mean, there's health benefits from increasing your metabolism, burning body fat, increasing circulation. There's tons of benefits to an ice bath, but the mental part of it for me is like I've accomplished something that I didn't necessarily want to do, and I made it happen. Maybe that could be your workout, for example, but that also comes to habits, right? We have to have proper habits of I'm getting my workout in the morning, not going to procrastinate waiting for that to do it later in the day. Same thing with meal prep. Like I feel like if we were to decide, like first of all, strengthening our decision-making ability. And you know what? I heard this at a presentation one time. This guy claimed to be a multimillionaire. He's a good speaker, very sleazy, but he had some good information. And one of the things he said as an entrepreneur, and I would say as a human being, you have to be willing to make tough decisions in a short amount of time and move on. So the more decisions that you can make, the better off that you're going to be, because you're going to have a stronger decision-making muscle, and you're not going to sit there and be like, I think the good majority of people are overthinkers. Like you're going to overthink everything. And then you're going to sit there in pain and misery, trying to figure out if you should do this or if you should do that, or weighing the positives and negatives, which I'm going to talk about here in a second, but that all takes time and effort. If someone comes to you with a problem and you could say, here's your answer. Done. Move on, right? That's a little bit different when I said sitting in it, but that was a different example. I want to make as many quick decisions as possible. And you have to, we have a small business, but we do very well, to be honest with you. And I struggled for years, but I learned that to grow as a human, to be a better business owner, to be a better father, to be a better employer, you have to make quick decisions. And sometimes they don't work out, but I think most of the time they do. Like making a decision and moving on. And that's not all, but taking full accountability for the decision that you made. Instead of being like, oh, I was pressured, you had to have a decision right away. That's not my fault. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making a clear decision that this is what I said, this is what I'm going to do. And if I mess up or if I don't do it, then it's my fault. Like procrastinating to make this video, which you may be listening through audio, but making quick decisions, living with the outcome, and then getting better at making decisions immediately and moving on. I feel like that would change lives. Just think about that for example. Like how many times have you come across people in your life that couldn't make a decision or wouldn't make a decision? They're like, let me think about it, or let me get back to you. Like that's a decision. All that is pushing the pain longer, because they're going to be thinking about it. They're going to be worrying about it. It's probably a no, to be honest with you. Like in our world, like if you're selling anything, if someone says, let me think about it, it's going to be a no. Like there's no reason to think about it. All you're doing is talking yourself out of it. So if I get on a call with someone and we talk about our program, and we explain all the things, all the benefits, and that's what they want. And it's not a good fit for everyone. But I know, I usually have a pretty good idea. We've been doing this for a long time. I usually have a pretty good idea when it's a good fit for someone. And then they're like, let me think about it. All they do, I'll get back to you in 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. It's almost always a no, because it's a full-on self-sabotage. The longer we take to make a decision, the more chances we're talking ourselves out of it. It's the same thing with working out. It's the same thing with meal prepping. Like you're literally talking yourself out of why you shouldn't work out, instead of stopping everything or setting your alarm and being like I shared with you guys, I recently started getting up at 4 a.m. And then I hear from our clients like, oh, I hit my snooze button, or I sleep in, or I go back to bed, or I roll over. I hear it all the time. And I think it's not for me. I have made that decision. Like that's when I'm getting up, and it's not a conversation in my head. It's I'm getting up. So when my alarm goes off at 4 a.m., I'm up. That's it. There's no, what's the word, equivocation? there's not like a debate in my head. Like, should I get up? Should I go get back to bed? Like make a decision and live with it. Like this is what I've decided in my life. I'm going to join this program and I'm going to put as much effort in as possible instead of being like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I don't know if it's going to work for me. I don't know if I have time for it. Like, don't know if I can afford it. Like, all that's nonsense. You can make time and you could create resources and you can make quicker decisions. You can make more decisions if you decide that that's what's going to happen in your life. But we just don't make that clear decision. And then we don't hold any accountability to ourselves. Like, maybe I'll get there, or maybe that's something I'll try. Like, it's nonsense. Maybe this is a little bit of tough love, but that is delaying a decision and not exercising and moving in the direction that you want to go. So again, like, I used to work with younger athletes. I did sports camps, strength and conditioning for hockey players, basketball players. These kids are 13 to 16, and often the parents would want the kids to be more involved than the kids wanted. And the parents would answer for the kids. So I would sit there and I would talk with them. I would ask them, like, what do you want out of this? What would be helpful? How can we expedite your career, skills, whatever it is? And the parents would either talk over the kids, interrupt the kids, or never let the kids speak. And I'm like, what are you teaching? And they don't know any different, right? But what are you teaching your kid? I had to think, like, right? I think to myself, like, that child's probably never going to be able to make its own decisions. And I know you want the best for them, but that child's probably never going to make their own decisions. They're going to grow up in a world of procrastination and never really have that strength and the ability to be quick and accurate and make the proper decisions when they have to. And then what happens? Like, you get in tough situations where you don't really have a choice to make a decision. You make no decision, and it makes your situation worse. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to wrap things up here. I don't feel like I have much more to share on that. But when it comes to decisions, if I could wrap this up, when it comes to, what's the word? When it comes to procrastination, again, in my opinion, procrastination is just the lack of ability to make a decision. It's delaying a decision and again, it's a decision in its own right. It's like, you're delaying a decision, being like, I'm not making a decision. I'm creating more pain, more long-term pain in my life than short-term, than being like, this is going to happen. And I found myself, like, when we're working with my employees and they'll ask me something and I'll say, let me get back to you. It's bad news. Because then they have to remind me 3 more times instead of me being like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And that's it, move forward. This is what we're going to do. This is the plan. Go ahead and execute. And then if it didn't work out, wasn't a great decision, then we deal with the consequences. And then we improve, we decide we're going to get better next time. And that's what you guys have to do. And that's what you guys have to get better at, is being like, yes, this is the decision I'm going to make. I'm not going to delay. I'm not going to procrastinate. I want to improve my situation in life. And to do that, sometimes you have to make difficult decisions in a short amount of time, but that's only going to create growth in your life. I hope that was helpful.